Alright my friends, so it's time for us to go ahead and combine the data and use it inside our reducer. So what I'd like to do here, first of all, we will have a lot of reducers. Alright, for example, if we take a look on our application, we will have a saved reducer as well later on, because the saved will display an information on the screen. It will be different from this one because the user may save this course and this course, but not the rest of these courses. So that's why we are going to display only 2 courses, or as many courses as the user will save. So it will be different, all right, from the home reducer. So that's why we need to create a custom reducer for it, all right. And here, in order for us to do so, we can create another function and we can do that, but we are going to do that later on. For the time being, what I want you to do, it is to create an object here. I'm just going to create it, all right, call it initial state. All right, this initial state object will contain the information that will be used inside our reducer. Make sense? So here we are creating a JavaScript object called initial state, and it will contain the information that will be used inside our reducer before we used it inside the reducer itself. All right, so let me show you. And here I will have an array of courses, right? Because here is how we are gonna do that, right? Previously, if you remember, when we were working with the class space component, we were defining or initializing, we were making an initialization for our state in the constructor function. Do you remember that? Here is the exact same thing. The exact same thing will happen right here. Here we are initializing our courses array to be an empty array. All right, now here our courses reducers, by default it will receive 2 main parameters. The first one is the state and the second one is the action. The state will be used to set up the data that this reducer will need, and the action will be used to interact with actions. All right, so we can later on connect our actions to reducers. All right, for the time being, this reducer function will receive 2 parameters by default. The first one is the state and the second one is action. All right, so we are interested for the time being in the state. The state, it will because if you remember the definition of the reducer, it's a JavaScript function. It's a function right here, and what it's gonna do, it will modify a piece of data and it will send it to the store. So here is the piece of data, which is the state. Make sense? And now what I want to do, we can use the ES6 feature to set the default value to the state to be our initial state, which I have defined it right now. So the state now, it will be this object right here. Can you see the benefit of the initial state? Now, regardless of the values that I will put right here, they will be available on this reducer because I have set the initial value for the state to be the initial state right here. Make sense? Now, what we want to do, we want to go ahead and return the state. All right, we are going to return the state from this reducer. Once again, the reducer is a JavaScript function that will modify a piece of data, in this case the state, and then it will return it to the store. All right, so now we are returning it from this function, but in the next video I'm going to show you how to return it specifically to the store. All right, if you are wondering, you have told us, hey, the reducer should modify the piece of data, then it will return it to the store. Yes, exactly that. I have said that. But what it's gonna do, it's gonna modify the data depends on the action. And since we haven't talked about action yet, so we are gonna return it immediately. All right. Once again, in this video, we have just filled out our reducer. and set up the state to be the initial state, and we have returned whatever values that we are going to add right here. Alright, now the last note that I'm going to talk about, I have told you that here we have initialized our courses array to be an empty array. And since we are going to use this array right here, this list of courses, which exists inside our data, then I'm just going to remove the empty array and I'm just going to say data, because I want my courses to be always the same array, which is the same data that we have it right here. Alright, so it is just a good idea to set it like this, but later on we are going to show you how to deal with asynchronous actions and how we can get data from the internet. For the time being, we have just set up our state and pass it to the reducer. In the next video, we are going to show you how to pass this data to our store. Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you, my friends, so much for watching. See you in the next one.